Welcome to Fiery JobFlow, the smart, scalable way to automate prepress workflows and eliminate repetitive manual tasks. With its intuitive browser-based drag-and-drop interface, you can build powerful automation workflows without any scripting. That means fewer touch points, fewer errors, higher quality, and faster turnaround. JobFlow reduces job setup from 15 clicks to just one, improving efficiency without increasing staff. Drag and drop modules to automate tasks at input source, such as converting Word, PowerPoint, JPEG files, or print-ready PDFs into something you need for output is easy. I can add a Fiery preflight, selecting a Fiery preflight from the list. If I want to impose my document, I can easily click on Impose and add an Impose template that's on my Fiery server. Then, if you want to approve the work that's been done to see what the final output will be before it goes to the Fiery controller, I can add an approval module and selecting one of the reviewers, whether they're internal or external to your organization. And a final step in this workflow, we will add to the Fiery output device a Fiery server preset that will have all the finishing and media settings preset for that job. Let's start by dropping a PDF file into the booklet workflow we just created. The job is processing. Since we have an approval module in this workflow, we will receive an email asking whether we want to approve or decline the job. Here you'll see the Fiery JobFlow approval request. Click on the View Job Content button. We'll actually see what the job is going to look like as it's going to be sent to the Fiery controller. If we go back and we view report, we can see the Fiery preflight report with all the settings that we told Fiery preflight to check on that job. And if we go back, we have the option to approve or decline. If we do decide to decline the job, we can actually give a reason why we're going to decline the job. And if we approve, the job will be sent on to the Fiery controller ready to print. The job has arrived in Command Workstation, the workflow is assigned, the media is assigned, and the job is ready to print. As you can see, creating a workflow like this in JobFlow ensures consistency for repeat jobs and prevents costly reprints by catching errors before printing. JobFlow also helps you modify files on the fly. Splitting and extracting PDF pages is a very easy job. This is an example where we have color covers with a black and white body PDF. And in our print shop, we want to save click costs by printing black and white as black and white only, and the covers on a heavier media in color. We start by creating two workflows, one for the color and one for the black and white. Then I can easily start building up my workflows and using the Pages module to define what pages do I want to extract. In this case, I'm going to keep pages. I'm going to enter in the variables for the pages I want to keep. I am going to add an imposition module to impose my covers into a saddle stitch book. And I'm going to use a server preset to select what I need for output so that the covers automatically have all their paper assigned, finishing assigned, etc. to the job. Now, one last thing I need to add to this workflow is I need to add a rule to send a second copy of this job to a secondary workflow so that the black and white pages can get processed correctly for the job. Now let's drop a file on our newly created JobFlow workflow. If we go to the Jobs tab, we can see the jobs are processing in JobFlow. The jobs have been processed. Let's take a look at what we have. This is the file that was processed for the body of the booklet, all in black and white. And if we look at the other file, we can see we have our color covers. We can see the jobs have been received on my Fiery controller. And you can see here's the black and white job. The workflow has been set with all our finishing and media settings. And if we click on the color covers file, we can see that a media has been set, as well as our Fiery server preset. JobFlow connects seamlessly with your existing Fiery ecosystem, including Fiery Command Workstation, Fiery Impose, and Fiery Job Master. It also integrates with third-party tools like Enfocus Pitstop and support custom scripting to solve unique workflow challenges. Let's look at a workflow that uses some of these elements. We've all seen the example that is a business card that's laid out on the center of an 8.5 by 11 sheet. Another example is a file that has professional print marks, but yet still needs bleed to be added and the card to be chopped down to fit in a traditional Impose template. We can also deal with single-side cards that are in the improper rotation, as well as double-side cards with bleed, without bleed, and with other challenges. If we look at how our Fiery JobFlow workflow was created for this application, we can look at our input workflow. So we have a singular input workflow that will detect, using Enfocus preflights, certain aspects of the file and then route them to certain workflows that will fix those challenges. So if we look at the next workflow in this chain, it's looking at, is the file 2 pages? Is the file on 8.5 by 11? And then it finally routes the card to a double-sided or a single-sided workflow to get the final manipulations that need to be corrected on that file. Here you can see rotate to all pages to landscape, and these Enfocus actions can be intelligent, where if it sees the file is already in landscape, it will not touch the file. Remove printer marks, change the business card size to the final size that the Impose template needs, generate bleed, which is a popular Enfocus action to add bleed if the file needs it. And then we can use a Fiery Impose template to lay the business card out, add additional marks for additional automation. In the process of automating their shop, they will also automate their finishing in the workflow too, with automated finishers. You can also see on this workflow we have a Fiery Server preset set to automatically assign the proper media to the job. So now let's take a look at how this workflow works. Let's drop some files into the input folder or drag and drop onto the Fiery JobFlow window. Here are all the jobs processing on my JobFlow server. Here are the jobs processing into a final state. You can actually preview the jobs in JobFlow, so I can get a preview of what the job is going to look like when it hits my Fiery server. Here are all the jobs, and if I preview one of these jobs, you'll see that the jobs are automatically fixed. Those marks have been removed, bleed has been generated, and we'll see that we've added marks, in this case for a Duplo finisher with registration and barcode, as well as I added traditional marks to this job. You can see how using JobFlow tools like Enfocus Actions, Enfocus Preflights, Fiery Impose templates, and Fiery Server presets all together in a workflow allow you to automatically fix many issues that come in with your files regularly and be able to automate that work so that you never have to do those repetitive tasks again. JobFlow will allow us to use images that were originally intended for internet use for printing purposes by using our AI image scaling module in a workflow. This uses VCS Cloud technologies to AI upscale the image that is required for our output device. If we drop our file onto our JobFlow workflow, the image is going to be upscaled, converted to a PDF. In this case, we're going to use an Enfocus action to actually add a cut path to the file. Then, using the quantity, if you see the _2 in the file name, it's going to use that number to actually duplicate the image 2 times and then send it to our Fiery Prep-It module, which will do intelligent nesting of the file and send it on to Fiery XF. We can see, if we look at the edit view, that the job has been intelligently nested. It also shows that a cut path has been applied, as well as registration marks and barcodes for, in this case, a Zune cutter. So you can see with JobFlow, you can have an automated workflow that allows you to drag and drop a file in and automatically get the output that you need. Prepress errors are expensive. With Fiery Preflight, JobFlow automatically inspects each file for issues like missing fonts, low-res images, or missing color profiles and generates a report so problems are caught early and can be corrected, dropping a file into a workflow that has an existing Fiery Preflight added to it. And once it's processed, you'll see there is a report link. And you can look at the report that is generated by that Fiery Preflight. JobFlow uses smart logic to automate routing decisions using simple if-then rules to trigger actions like directing business cards to one workflow and booklets to another when submitting multiple jobs at once. Let's take a look at an example that uses keys in the file name that you can see here, such as calendar, notepad, posters, booklet, business cards. Drop them onto our JobFlow workflow. They will be processed using if statements, if passes, if fails, and then routed according to the file name that is detected by the nFocus Preflight to the correct workflow to have additional work done. If we take a look at the supporting workflows, you can see that in the booklet workflow, it's detecting if any pages are larger than A4, and then we'll split them in half using an nFocus action, and then it sends it to an impose template and sends it on to the Fiery controller. We can also have workflows such as the notepad workflow, which uses nFocus actions to take a single page, duplicate it to 50 times, and then copy all that content on the 49 blank pages, and send it on to the Fiery controller, but yet have an additional Fiery controller in the workflow so that if the main Fiery controller that's defined is down, it will route it to that secondary controller to be run on that machine. If we take a look at the files that have been produced by these workflows, you can see the single page notepad file that we put as an input has now been duplicated to 50 pages. If we look at our calendar workflow, you'll see the job has been laid out into a calendar format using a Fiery impose template. If we look at our booklet workflow, we can see that the jobs have been laid out into booklet format automatically. If we look at one of the business card jobs, you'll see the business cards have been laid out properly for business cards using nFocus actions to manipulate the file depending on its orientation and laid out correctly using the same impose template. So this workflow gives a user the opportunity to have one input folder and allow them to drop in multiple different types of jobs and have them routed to the correct workflows just by the file name, which makes their shop more efficient by having only one input folder for the users to drop those files into. They just need to make sure the files are named correctly. From setup to submission, JobFlow reduces costly errors, accelerates production, and saves valuable time. Because let's face it, why touch what you can automate? Take control of your print workflow. Visit fiery.com/JobFlow to learn more.